This is a newish talk for me that I put together. Most of the times when I'm here, I'm actually speaking about technical stuff like Lightroom and different things, and I figured I did that 3 or 4 times here, so I wanted to change it up. So I'm going to be talking about patience and consistency today. So an interesting topic, so I've put this together. So a little bit about me. Always loved photography since I was a kid. I started shooting around when I was around 12 years old. And I got my dad's Pentax. It was a Spot-O-Matic film camera. I still have that camera. It's in our episodes. We use it as a prop now. It actually still shoots, and I've shot it here and there. And I always wanted my dad's A1 camera. So he had a Canon A1, and he wouldn't give it to me. We actually came to B&H here, and he bought me a Nikon. I don't know if it was out of spite or what it was, but he got me a Nikon, and I used that for years. It was not a digital. It was film again, and when I switched over, I got my Canon. I got a 20D. Shot that for many years, and now I'm actually shooting the Lumix line of photography gear. It's a GH4 and a GX8. So enough about me. So great little quote here, and we're going to kind of touch on this a lot today. It's from Ansel Adams, and it says, "You don't actually take a photograph, you make a photograph." And I want to kind of keep drilling this in over and over again as we go into patience and slowing down and really taking time. You do everything in the image, from where you put your camera to the angle and how you process it all the way through. So, you're actually making that photograph. My great friend Levi Sims says that all the time too. So it's your vision that's really the most important thing that we're trying to, through this presentation, really nail down. So what is the definition of patience? It's the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. So not always so easy. And another thing I see on this here, as photographers, it says solitaire on there. So we like to shoot alone a lot, and that's not always great. When we go out and shoot with our photography club, we get together because now you see different perspectives. Even if you're standing next to someone, they're going to get a totally different shot than you're going to get. The first part of the program, we're going to go over this repeatedly, the patience part. So we're going to hit all the patience points first, and then we're going to go into the consistency of keeping everything consistent. No worries. So patience is an acquired trait. So you have to learn this, and you have to actually go out there and try again. You see this picture I put up here. It's a lightning shot. I'm from Arizona now. I'm originally from New Jersey and moved out there in 2005. And I was out all night trying to shoot this image. It was raining on me, which I don't like to be in the rain when I'm shooting lightning because your lens gets all wet. It was windy. My tripod was shaking. So I had lots of blurry pictures, lots of water drops. I didn't give up though. I just kept going at it. I kept looking for a spot, trying to get ahead of the storm or behind the storm and get a shot. And I was graced with this in front of me, but I had to be patient. I had to persevere. I had to really keep pushing on. This is in front of Red Mountain, and it's the Salt River that goes in front of it. So not only did I get a shot with lightning, 2 lightning strikes, cloud to ground, but I also got a little bit of reflection there, which kind of sets it apart from a lot of my other lightning shots. So it's the willingness to put off a quick or easy small reward and work and harder and wait for that larger reward. So as photographers, again, we must learn patience. So it's definitely an acquired trait. So what are a few reasons as photographers we actually will lose patience and kind of break down and have that angry moment? So frustration, having an obstacle that we cannot get over. Something, maybe it's technical, maybe it's raining like today. I wanted to go out and take pictures before I got here, and I looked outside, I'm like, it's raining. I have rainy shots from New York before. Do I need to go out and duplicate that? Boredom. You're sitting out there maybe doing wildlife photography and nothing's happening. Wildlife didn't show up that day. The immediate need for results, whether it's real or perceived, is really a lot of what's going on today. So everyone wants like everything on demand right now. Make the bird come, make the deer walk in front of you, whatever that may be. So it's sometimes just sitting back and enjoying the scene if nothing's going on, and watching everything. Waiting is the hardest part. So it's a Tom Petty song. I love it. It's, but it is true. You're waiting for the right moment, for everything to kind of align and get that image. And sometimes, again, you just have to sit back and just enjoy it until the clouds appear or that something happens. So again, how to avoid losing patience. So start by learning your gear inside and out. Whether your gear is a point and shoot, an iPhone, a 5D Mark III, or something more expensive, know it. Know all the functions. Know all the buttons. Know the limitations of the gear. Will it shoot at 1,000,000 ISO like the new Canon camera, or will it only go up to 6400? It may have 1,000,000 ISO, but it's not going to look good all the time. So know the functions, know everything. This is especially important when we do nighttime workshops because we're working in the dark. So I need to actually be able to work this whole camera in the dark, and they don't light up like your cars do. All the buttons in your cars light up and you can see the windows. So what are other things that will cause you to lose patience out there? So other things that cause me is not knowing your limits. We went on a hike and a workshop. It was just a friend's workshop. It wasn't really a teaching one, to go look at stuff out in the Ansel Adams Wilderness up in California. And we didn't expect the altitude changes to really affect us, and it did. We didn't camp close enough to the altitude that we should have before that, and we trained a little bit for it, but you need to know your limits and push yourself to them, but not above them, because that's going to wear you down. We were winded, we were tired, we were at too much gear. Then you're not inspired to go out and really go get the shot that you really want to get. So both your physical and your mental limits are important to know where you really can go out there and get the shots. So don't overdo it. It could not only just make you tired and exhausted, it could be dangerous as well. So you really want to be careful about limits. So again, back to animal and wildlife photography. Research your subjects. You can't be patiently awaiting your subjects if they don't show up. So part of wildlife and I don't do a ton of wildlife photography, but if you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you're not gonna necessarily see something or have a better chance of seeing something. We're doing a workshop up in Alaska, and we're going to shoot bears and we're going to shoot eagles. We know where they're going to most likely be. Is that going to guarantee they're there? Not necessarily, but we're going to where they're most likely to actually see the activity. So research the subjects, research their patterns, research where they're going. You're basically hunting with a camera, so you want to be able to know where everything is. And this goes for humans too. This is an animal picture, but for people too. If you're doing street photography, and I have a slide in here later on of Luis Menendez. He's outside with the big camera. You probably saw him when you came in. Know where he's going to be. He moves around. He's out here now. At Christmas time, I was doing some research. He's out by the big tree, and he's out in Rockefeller Center. So you're not going to find him here. So make sure you know a little bit about it. And it's easier with the internet now. You can go out there and search stuff all day long. So local events, to either be there during a local event or not. So research these local events, research when they're going to be there, when they're not going to be there, where you want to be, where you'd like to avoid being. This would have been nice to be up on a balcony. It's during Mardi Gras down in New Orleans. This would have been, I think, it's a good shot because it shows the people, but if I was looking just to photograph just the floats, I'd want a little bit higher vantage point. So, during different cultural events, try to figure out what's going to work for the vision you have, because this could make you lose your patience being in a crowd of millions or hundreds of thousands of people out there. So, and getting pegged with beads while you're trying to point a really expensive camera lens towards them. All right, on to researching each location. There's other things that you should research as well. So you want to research before you plan to visit so that you're prepared, and you want to know about physical accessibility. So this image is of, it's in Utah-Arizona border. It's called the Wave, and we go out there and it's very hard to get to. It's usually hot. We've done it even in March when it's supposed to be cooler, and we've almost died. So it's not the safest place to go. There's no trail at all. You're hiking on sand, and there's two markers, one at the beginning and one at the end, and you have to just find your way. So we have to bring GPSs and know and they actually give you a map, and the map has like, when you see this tree, if it's still there, go left. And when you see this rock, go right if it's not covered in sand. So it's really, they want to keep it hidden for that reason that they only give, I think, a couple dozen permits out per day. So only 12 to 20 people a day can go see this. So that's another thing, your accessibility with permits. Do you need permits? Do you not need permits? Do you need a tour guide? A lot of places we go, you need a tour guide. And again, you could lose your patience very easily by being stressed out, being too hot, not being prepared. What else do I have for this one? So 4x4, you may need to drive in, and if you have a car that may not work, when we go do Monument Valley, we have to bring a truck because it's muddy, and we need 4x4 accessibility. So see if there's any permits, legal hurdles, and check into the weather pattern. So I have been here 3 times. This is the only time that there was clouds. So different times a year in Arizona and Utah do we get clouds, and we don't love blue skies out there because we have blue skies all the time, so it's boring. If this wasn't in there, it would just be a boring kind of image to someone in Arizona. So we're always looking for clouds to just kind of make it an interesting shot. And one time I was out there, we actually had snow on there as well, which was kind of cool. So there was snow on this side, but no clouds. So you can't have it all. It would be great if you could have it all. So different times a year, and I'll get into that into a little pickle we got into with where not to go certain times a year. If relevant to your research, are you looking for sun, moon, stars, Milky Way, other things? You have to know when they're going to be out or when the moon's going to be away if you want the Milky Way. So do those different researches before. There's all kinds of apps. I use Photo Pills on my iPhone, and that'll tell you everything you want to know about anything related to photography. Slowing down. This is in the same location, just zoomed in, and it just looks crazy when you're there. It's great to get that initial shot like this that everyone shoots, but then just getting in and all these interesting, it looks like Laffy Taffy to me or something. It's all stretched out rocks, and it's beautiful. So slow down. As soon as we got to this location, everyone just ran around like frantically, like it was gonna just go away, and they're just taking pictures after picture, and it was a frenzy. And I kind of sat back at the top up there, at the very top of it, so this kind of goes down into here. I was just sitting here and just watching everyone run around and take these pictures, and I just wanted to really absorb what was going on. So I was taking pictures of my friend Mark here, taking pictures, and kind of just watched everything. And that's again when those clouds started to appear. At first, these first shots didn't have a whole lot of the clouds going on. So really, with photography, it's so easy to get wrapped up in just taking thousands of frames and putting it on speed drive. So slow down if it's not a fleeting moment. Now, if it's a beautiful moose walking in front of you or a race car flying by, then you have to put it on motor drive and do what you have to do. So don't rush. Observe and compose your shots. So I put him on the rule of thirds, and I tried to get really awesome foreground here, so it just led into him and everything. So really compose them, think them out. I'm not a huge fan of editing, and I'll talk about this a little bit later. And so I try to get everything right in the camera, so I don't actually have to go and spend a ton of time editing. And then shoot after you compose. So plan ahead, plan far ahead, and then plan for things to go wrong or change. Again, I've been out here 3 times, and each time was different. One time we stayed for dark, and then it got cloudy, so there was no clouds during the day. And then we're ready to shoot the stars, and it looked gorgeous, and all this thin layer of clouds came in. So could have used that at sunset. It would have been beautiful. So you just rolled with it, and we changed, and we light painted with flashlights and everything instead. So it was just, you have to shift gears and not get frustrated, like, I came out here for the stars, and they didn't, poo-hoo and stomp away and hike 10 miles back. But that'll calm you down. So change gears when things go wrong. Be sure to bring extras of everything you need. Batteries. You don't want to get here and then your battery's dead. This happened to someone on a workshop, and it was a 1DX and had a battery no one else had. So extra food, water, snacks, memory cards, stuff like that. And lastly, a big thing, zero out your settings after every shoot. I've made the mistake of this. I used to do a lot of event photography, and I was shooting lightning one night, and I forgot to zero everything out. So it's not the same as event photography. So zero them out, and by that I mean just put everything back to your basics. 100 ISO, keep it, so then when you pick your camera up, it's at all the basics and you change it from there. So try again. So this shot was actually at the Out of Chicago conference. I was following the videographer around doing some behind the scenes stuff. And to get this actual shot for the attendees that were doing it, we had everyone grabbing one of these little parts of the dress and throwing it up. So the first maybe 80 shots were terrible. So, but they didn't give up. They kept, I wasn't actually participating. I was on the background. I was shooting other people, and I got a good shot of it that I liked, but they had to keep throwing it up over and over again. And what happened was they would bunch it up really tight, the people that were helping, and then throw it up. So it kind of was a ball, like lockdown little ball, and it would just fall really heavy. So they had to get it so that it was kind of more folded and gracefully throw it up so that the wind would catch it and come down. So, and there was all kinds of strobe lights around. So they had like 10 people doing this. So there was one person for each one of these all the way around, just one person right behind her that you can't see. Then you have someone holding the strobe so they wouldn't blow over because it was Chicago, so it's breezy. And they're throwing them up over and over again. Take the shot, no, it didn't work. Okay, now they got the dress looking perfect. Guess what? She wasn't posed the right way. Her eyes were closed. So you have to persevere and again, be patient with that. You're gonna get it, hopefully. Just rinse and repeat repeatedly. Keep trying it again and again and again. And you have to stay patient. If you start flipping out, the model's gonna feel stressed out. The other attendees are, so it's not always the first try, unfortunately. So like with many crafts, artists, everything else, you have to practice to get better as well. So as you do it more and more, by the end, the people throwing were awesome at it. They were like pros. It was like, wow. They just knew they had to be told because they got the feel of it, of what they were supposed to do. Every time you'd put someone new in though, they had to take a few because then that's probably the one in the back there that they just started out. So it was a little heavier and it didn't float. So you will fail, and you will fail a lot of times, and that's okay. Don't get discouraged. I saw someone today posting that they had a lot of roadblocks on Facebook, and I need some patience. I'm like, oh, it's really funny. I'm doing a talk about that today. I need to come and talk to you guys about it in Phoenix. And she felt very discouraged, and everyone was telling her, just roadblocks are there to kind of test you. So just don't worry about it. Learn from your mistakes, though. So if you fail, that's okay, but don't keep doing the same thing over and over. Learn what was going wrong, why it wasn't working. Is the light in the wrong spot? What needs to change? And then you can get past that, get over that hurdle, and get a little bit further. So this is Brian Peterson. He's another photography instructor. This was out of Chicago. Again, I was following the videographer around doing some behind the scenes for my friend. And he was teaching people different perspectives and what things look like and how you could kind of fake it. So it's actually shot in the camera. He's like, I'm going to make it look like I'm blowing away in Chicago here. But if you start traveling with non-photographers or family, they don't get it. They're like, what are you doing? This is weird. Can we go? I'm hungry. And I'm only half kidding about that. I'm not, you're going to have to travel with non-photographers, but they're going to be rushing you. They're going to be like, all right, we're done. Why do you need to take so many frames? Why are you not shooting any pictures? And you're sitting there going, well, the light's not right. I don't want to shoot any pictures. Everything's not aligned. So when you're traveling with non-photographers, it's sometimes harder to be patient. You're rushing a little bit to make them not feel uncomfortable. So, again, we're an interesting breed. We do fun things and look at things differently than they do. So you're going to want to stay longer, wait for that light. So maybe split off and say, hey, you guys are going to get lunch. Let me hang here a little bit longer and get some shots while you guys are eating lunch, and then have your lunch packed. So maybe forward think some of that stuff as well. Most of the normal people will jump out, take their iPhone shot of the Grand Canyon, and be like, okay, big hole in the ground, and get back in or get back on the bus with the rest of it, and then they're going to, they're going to go on to the next part, take an iPhone shot, maybe a selfie, probably, with their selfie stick. And we're going to bracket like 10 brackets of that and put it on a tripod and get all prepped. And it may take us longer to prep and get everything out than they actually are sitting in the car waiting for you. So I've seen a funny bumper sticker before, and it said photographer aboard, and this car makes frequent stops that are unannounced and everything. And I thought it was funny. I was like, that is kind of true, because we'll be like, oh, leave, stop, oh, squirrel, oh, this, and then just jump out of the car. And right now we're getting blooms on the saguaro cactuses out there, and they're really tall. A lot of them are crazy tall. I might have a picture in here later, but they're way too tall to get without a ladder, and they're doing these beautiful blooms. And I saw a short cactus, and slammed the brakes on, pulled over, and everyone's like, "What's wrong? Do we have a flat tire?" And like, threw a U-turn, turned around. They're like, "What happened? What did you hit?" And I'm like, I was just like, "Just hold on, you'll see it." And then flipped around again, another U-turn, parked on the side, and they're like, "Oh," I didn't even say anything. They saw it like right on the side of the road. It was maybe a little bit taller than me, but we got something like a milk crate kind of thing to stand on, and it was plenty to get a picture eye level without getting on a ladder or any of that. So, but I didn't have to say a word. All I did was stop the car in front of it, and they're like, "Okay," and they all jumped out. So I was with photographers on that one. All right, so we're bringing it back to patience again, and this is all in the line with patience. So you're going to need it in situations like this. This is in Arches Park, and has anyone been out there to Arches before and done this hike? So this hike is not always the easiest one, especially in July when it's hot. It's a long hike. It was hot weather. Had lots of DSLR gear. I was shooting my Canon 5D with the battery grip and all my L lenses that I felt the need to carry out there so no one would steal them out of my car. So I had a 70-200 that I didn't need, and 24-70, and my wide angle is really the only one I used. Hiked out there for everything, and we get out there, and there's literally a line. Before it got dark, there's a line of people here waiting to take a selfie in the middle of the arch. So they'd walk in like that, take a picture, or someone would take a picture for them, and the next. It was just like a conveyor belt. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I thought we were going to be the only ones out here. And they were and until it got dark, then they all disappeared. Not many people stayed for this shot. But there were some people that stayed, and they all had lights. So as we would try to take a shot, someone would ruin the shot. Light would go on, and we're wide open, trying to get the stars to expose. All right, so that got ruined. Then I could see people in the workshop getting frustrated and starting to talk and mumble and curse, and I'm like, calm down, we're not the only ones. We don't own this arch. This arch is here for everyone to see. They'll eventually get bored or get their shot or leave, and we'll get our shot. And now the Milky Way is coming up, and it's getting into the perfect spot that we want. We had to actually start working with some of the other photographers that weren't in our group to say, okay, let's all work together and let's open at the same time so that they're not turning their lights on looking at their cameras. So we waited for it to get in the right position, and we eventually got the shot, and we ended up putting some LEDs underneath it. That's just a flashlight that it looked okay. So it's, working with other people sometimes helps as well. Oh, and to mention, we were like on a little cliff here, and then there was another cliff directly in front of us. So taking your lenses off in the dark or dropping anything, it was just going to go off there's like a big bowl down here. So that was interesting as well, working in the dark. And then after all that, we had to hike back out in the dark. So at least it wasn't as hot then. So long term, in the moment, sometimes you really just need to enjoy the experience of being out there. It's not always about getting the shot. I've shot so many of these. We've all had beginner's luck of going out and getting a great shot off the first time. But with sunsets, we have so many out in Arizona, and they're beautiful, but not every time. Maybe 1% of the time, the whole canopy lights up all the way over and behind you, and you really have to kind of just step back from the camera. You can kind of just let it keep shooting and just enjoy the experience. The odds are going to work in your favor over time. So if you keep going out, and when it's a glum, boring day and the sun gets blocked, go out, and still it sometimes surprises you. And it sometimes will do this. This is a day I normally wouldn't have gone out because there was a lot of clouds down here. And when that happens, it usually blocks the sun from actually coming up and lighting it up. So I'll kind of like peek out and look and figure out from my experience if this is going to happen. And I was actually out helping a friend learn photography. So I had my camera, and I just had it going while I was helping him get good shots as well. And so I lucked out that this actually happened. So again, back to the wild animals, keeping your patience. They may not show up that day, and you have to just enjoy the scene, enjoy being out in nature. That's why people go camping, to get out of the city and get out of everything. So maybe if you did all your research and it's a perfect moonless night, again, what happens? Clouds could roll in, like we talked about that happened at the wave. so you can't predict this stuff. So kind of be ready to get skunked. It happens, and it's okay. And again, maybe switch gears and take some macro shots of stuff, other things that may work when it's cloudy and it's like a big softbox out there. So persistence, part of the same, they go hand in hand again. So if you stack those odds in your favor by being persistent, going back over and over again, checking, are the hummingbirds here? The hummingbirds are so hard to shoot if you haven't shot them. They're just like little lightsabers all over the place. They're just buzzing all around, and I'm horrible at shooting them. That's why the one picture I have in here, they're sitting and not moving. But people get amazing pictures of them. They did not get those pictures in the first shot. They probably have the blurry one like me going like this, or the bird feeder in the back and stuff like that when they're actually coming up to the bird feeder. So you have to be persistent. Keep taking the pictures. Not giving up. But when that moment happens, you're going to be ready for it now. So when the bird aligns with the perfect background and the light's hitting it correctly, you're going to be ready because you've got all the skills down. You've figured your camera out. You've figured your settings out. You've been patient. You've done your research, all the stuff we just talked about, and you're going to be totally prepared when everything meets to just boom and nail it with the perfect shot. All right, your vision. So vision is the most important thing as a photographer that we all have. It's a lot of the reason why we are photographers, because people looked at our work before when it was printed on Facebook, on different things now, and we're like, wow, this is better than everyone else in the family's work, and this is better than their other friends' work. So we had something, a good eye, as they call it, and your vision. And that's great if everything like we just talked about comes and all the stars align. But that doesn't always happen. So this may happen when you're hiking down to Havasupai. So this is the same place on the way down to that beautiful waterfall. This is my vision of what we were going to get, and all the people in the workshop, their visions of what we wanted to get to go home with. And that's in Arizona, by the way. It's not in, that shot is not in like the Caribbean. It's actually all minerals in the water. So the reality of that workshop was that it rained, not even over us. It was raining over us, but when we hiked down, it actually started raining somewhere else 50 miles away, and all the water just goes in and flash flooded on us. So we had to switch gears. So I put my camera into video mode. I had a 5D Mark III, and I'm like, well, I've never used this video thing. This looks like it needs video because it's moving, and the pictures, that's interesting, but if you actually heard the water and saw the water and what it was doing, this rock right here is huge. It's taller than me. It's a big boulder in the middle of the trail, and this is our hiking trail. It's a wash, but that's what you hike down there in. So a 30-foot wall of water came through and pretty much washed everything away right where we were hiking, and we had minutes, not even, like less than a minute, a helicopter came down and told us, like, he opened his door, and I actually did a whole talk just on this. I don't want to get too far into it. Opened his door of his helicopter and like pointed at us and then pointed at this hill that we're on up here. So we're down here. He pointed up here. So we kind of climbed right about here, and he's like, no, keep going, and told us to get up further. And then this happened. So we were walking in that before. It was only about maybe calf deep, and we kind of felt it getting stronger, but we thought it was just the area we were in, that it was more swift. No, this was coming. So we're stuck on a ledge all day, literally all day, up here under like one of these little rock outcroppings, which probably wasn't safe either. And we played Uno, so it really wasn't that bad after that. I got beat in Uno many times, and we were exhausted, and we sat there and played Uno. Whoever brought those, the girl we're with, was genius. And then we had to finish the hike in the dark, in the water, because the water went down enough that we could actually get into it, and we had to lock arms and shuffle across, because the trail at that point wasn't just straight down anymore. If you look at where the water goes, it kind of zigzagged in there. So we had to walk across, get to the other side, then we were dry for a little bit, and then hike back. So we switched gears to this, and then when we got there, they told us that the falls were closed. So after all that, they're like, yep, it's closed, you have to hike back out tomorrow. So what did we do? We didn't really get discouraged, even after all that. So when life gives you lemons, they say make lemonade. So I started shooting people I started shooting the horses, started videoing the water. I shot a lot of black and white. I actually had to tip the guy that was blocking the falls off like $40. So like we just hiked down here all night. There were stories about us because we were like the last ones. They keep track of people at the top and the bottom. So we told them who we were and we took black and white pictures. So we just switched gears. So we got great shots, but they weren't the blue, amazing waterfall pictures. They were just black and whites and stuff like this. So it was just different. It's not what we expected. I probably would have let this walk right past me because that wasn't the vision I had for the trip. But we're sitting under a ledge again, trying to stay dry when it was raining. And these guys came through bringing all the gear down. They're bringing and a lot of the gear got lost and stuff too in the floods. Luckily ours didn't, but you have to kind of change it. So we changed our subject. We adapted our vision. We were open-minded. We didn't say, the falls are closed. Boo, I'm going back up. We didn't want to hike back up. We wanted to stay there and document it. And we were documenting the changing environment too. There was like a little refugee camp because the campsite got flooded out. So everyone moved up into the town where the helicopter comes in. So we were shooting the helicopters, bringing supplies in. We were shooting the town. So I almost became like a news photographer just out of like, it was interesting. And I figured, well, maybe the news wants this. And the news did pick it up actually and put us, it syndicated all over the whole country. So I have a studio out in Phoenix, and I shoot portrait photography, and the best shots I find are really those in-between shots. Whether you can apply this to any type of photography, but those in-between interesting shots that I shoot when someone's not posing. So if you do shoot people or street photography, really you don't want them to be like give that cheesy grin and smile. It's too difficult to really get a good shot because they're playing a part now. So they're not going to show you really their true self when they're doing that. And especially I have like little nephews and stuff, and mommy's yelling at them all the time. Smile, smile, Connor, smile. And he's like, and he's like holding it and he's like squinting and it's terrible. And then I'll catch them when they're off doing something else. And I'm not even great at children photography, but I know to catch them like further off when they're playing or doing something, or there's just a cool moment. Not when mommy's yelling at them. So shoot a few extra frames if you're doing pose photography in between when they're not looking. They'll be looking off to the side or talking to the makeup artist or whatever it is, and I'll shoot twice, the posed one and then right after it again, and catching them really off guard so that you get interesting, like I think her this is a metal shoot, so we did like an industrial shoot, all stuff from Home Depot that the artist put together. And this was kind of sliding down, and she was like, oh, trying to catch it. She had a dress on and everything underneath. This was just attached to her, and it was just her trying to catch it so it wouldn't fall off. And I loved it. It was just one of the funnier shots of her face and expression. So, fishing versus catching. So I've been fishing with my dad since I'm a little kid. He loves fishing, and I've just taken up to it, and we always go on trips together. And one of the things that we would say, we'd be sitting out there and bored, and like, it's a really slow day. And he'd always tell me, this is why they call it fishing, not catching. If it was called catching, you'd just be catching stuff all the time. It's good. So, same thing I've applied to photography, same kind of thing. We're not always catching the moment. So, it's all this stuff, hunting, fishing, photography, it's all very tightly related of how you do your research, how you track stuff and everything. So that always kind of stuck with me, and I've always kind of applied that to my shots. The story behind this shot is we were doing a workshop on motion, and there's so many things that go into taking this shot, and it's not even that great of a shot. It's interesting, but to catch it exploding like that, we actually have a gun over here that we're shooting this is in the studio too, so it's a pellet gun. We're shooting the light bulb, and you have to have a lightning trigger with a sound adapter to catch when it makes that noise to actually have it so it's exploding. And if you look to the right, you can see how many tons of light bulbs we've shot already that may or may not have been caught. I think I have 4 pictures from this whole shoot that actually caught it, where it wasn't before it, because the sound of the shooting the gun would trigger it sometimes, so you'd have a perfectly awesome looking light bulb, not broken. And then you have to do it again, and then you'd shoot it too late and it was just crumbled, and I could have done that after, I didn't need it. So it took a lot of practice and light bulbs to do this. So I'm not sure you could do this with LED light bulbs or those spirally ones now, so they're kind of phasing these out. But be present and enjoy the moment. The process of doing this was kind of fun. It was kind of like being in science class or something when we were doing it. We were just having fun and setting them all up. We were setting them up for other people, getting it figured out, and then we shot the last 4, and I got the shot within those 4 shots because we did it so much to help everyone else get their shots. So that was our practice, even though I wasn't shooting the whole time. And again, I have a lot of cliche kind of things, so enjoy the trip. It's not always the destination. Whether we got the shot or not, I'm not going to go sell this shot. It's cool, it was fun. It was really more of a personal project just to see if we could do it. And we did it with water balloons too, and that's equally as hard. So we shot the water balloons, I don't have a shot of that, and then the balloon would be gone and you just have the water floating in air. And they were just cool. I don't know what we'd ever do with them, but they were just fun to play with photography. So moving on and switching gears to consistency now. So, patience is the kind of relaxing and slowing down and waiting for the moments to happen. And then when the moment happens, you just don't want to, again, unless it's NASCAR or wildlife photography or planes, you don't want to like and just hold it down and have to go sort through these images, store these images, edit these images, God forbid, so you don't want to have to do all of that with thousands of images. So I've worked on consistency with my photography over the years to really start to make it better so that I can take 4 shots and get the shot and not take 400 and have to go look through them all. So consistency is the key to being a better photographer. And I truly believe this will help set you apart as a photographer and help you create a style, as they call it, and a style that there's certain artists that you see. Joel Grimes took my picture, which was the first one in there of me, and when you see his artwork, you know immediately, oh, I don't have to even scroll through Facebook. I say, oh, look, that's Joel's picture. I just know. He's got a style that speaks, and you see that with paintings and artists. You see a Monet, and that's the style. They may have other work, but what did they get famous for? So you want to create the style with your consistency. So they go hand in hand. So patience and consistency go hand in hand because, again, you're slowing down. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Some people eat peanut butter, some people eat jelly, but most people eat it together, and they're really slowing down, waiting for the moment, and capturing the shot. So this is shot across the river, and it's the memorial that's leading up to the World Trade Center in Jersey City. And it's actually a picture of me. So Susie took this picture of me. It's me and my nephew, and she just caught a great moment. She just caught this moment of I'm holding his hand and he's pointing, and everything was just lined up. And it may not be the most perfect shot, but she really nailed the shot and caught it. And I looked through her other shots, and all of them were very similar. She was waiting for that moment. So maybe one of them he wasn't pointing at, he was just standing. It was cute. But then there's another one where maybe we couldn't, my feet were, really close together. So as she went through and culled through and picked the shot that she was going to give me for this, it was like that one stood out. Everything kind of aligned. The lighting was coming in. The names were glowing. The shadows were perfect. There's a bright spot down here that she edited out, but she didn't do a ton of editing to it. And then he put his hand up and pointed, and that was like, it clicked. She's like, that was the vision that was working for her. So you want to take less frames and edit less. So I am not a huge fan of editing, and then you're going to start to realize it's coming together. So as you start to see that you edit less, you're taking less frames, and you're getting a consistent result, it's really going to help you start to figure out that style and keep going down that road. So to a certain level, use what you have. So gear-wise, buying a better camera doesn't always equal directly better pictures. So if your gear needs to be replaced, replace it. But what you're doing here today, learning, practicing, getting better, going out taking pictures, that's going to help you to, get better images. You can see people that shoot with iPhones that get amazing imagery. They have an eye for it. They have a knack for it. They know how to cheat the system and get the angles and everything. So use the gear you have. When you grow out of that gear, or you have a limitation of, say, like you need more ISO, and then you need to upgrade to something that's going to, give you more ISO, then upgrade. But don't just buy every camera just because you can. The camera doesn't make a bit of difference. All of them can record what you're seeing, but you have to see, by Ernest Haas. So that's vision again. You see all these other photographers talking about this, so that it's your vision that you're really trying to perfect and figure out what works. So fancy gear doesn't make better photographers, and research your tips and techniques. So the stuff we talked about in patience, researching how to get the Milky Way shot, having the tools, having photo pills, and figuring out where it's going to be, if you're going to be in the right spot. That would have been, a couple months later, the Milky Way moves, so it goes from this arch, kind of, that you saw in front of the arch, to more of a straight up and down. And I've shot it both ways. I personally like it when it's kind of across the sky. So we had to go and sweat it in July, in the middle of summer, because right now it's this way, and then as we're actually moving, the Earth's moving, so it's getting a different perspective. So I had the vision for what I wanted. So unfortunately, it's in the desert in July, and we had to go out there and huff it through and carry all that gear out. So different examples of learning the gear you have and getting better. So critical focus. A lot of people do focus and recompose, where you go like this and go like that. And that can throw you off if you're shooting wide apertures. So to keep that consistency, I move my focus point around. A lot of people will be like, boom, 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 boom. So really keep your consistency up. Use a tripod if you have to. I have tripods. They're not my friends unless I'm doing nighttime stuff. It kind of weighs me down and everything. But if you need a tripod to slow stuff down, use that. Turning your image stabilized lenses off when you're shooting on a tripod is another thing that'll help your consistency. So trying to get everything to manual and getting that consistency up is going to help you, where you're going to actually be able to now create the shot when the same conditions present themselves again. When this happens, you can get the shot. Or you can say, I don't want these silhouetted, I want to get foreground in this shot, and then be able to know how to do that on the fly. So personal projects. So you can see these don't look anything like the rest of my images that you saw. It's because it's a personal project. I didn't want them to look like that. These are something I'm doing for me, and you should do them for yourselves. Maybe not shoot cowboys, because there's not a whole lot of cowboys in New York, but you want to do a personal project, and you want to create a style for that project, whether it be black and white, or the type of editing you're doing, the tight crops, landscapes, cityscapes, whatever it is. Have something that connects all of the images together in a line, so that you can just kind of put them into an album and someone can look through them on your iPad, and they're all very similar looking images. It's important to do these personal projects because, again, this is going to keep you sharp. It's what's going to keep you really practicing, learning your gear, using your gear. And again, it doesn't make a difference what it is. I chose cowboys. I have a cemetery project. When I come out east, there's no good cemeteries in Arizona. When I come out east here, there's tons of great cemeteries. And I'll shoot them all in very high contrasty, grainy black and white. I don't care. I'm not printing them. They're for me. And these are all grainy too. My constant running joke is this. They're all shot with L lenses, so high quality lenses. They're all shot with a 5D Mark III for the most part. Great camera. And then I take them into Lightroom and I push the grain up, and I push the contrast up, and I vignette it, and I do all the stuff that the gear I have is taking out. So like when you hit like lens corrections, it takes the vignetting and chromatic aberration, and you go up and you take your noise out and everything. So I make them grainy and muddy looking and terrible, and that's just the look for the style I was looking for. So even though my gear, I could have shot this with my Pentax Spotomatic, and it would have looked exactly the way I wanted it, so. And don't worry about what others think about it, because again, it's a personal project. It's for you. It's not for them. So who cares what they think about it? And if you look again, all of the styles, the editing, the looks are all very similar. They're all tight crops of males or females, most of them with hats on it, which is very difficult. I had to lighten up around the face here to get some light under. I'm shooting from far away with a 70-200 or further, so they're not looking at me posed most of the time. There's very few that are posed. They're kind of doing their thing, and I'm just kind of stealing shots. So what does this let you do with these personal projects? It lets you try out new techniques, because who cares if it gets ruined or something happens? You're getting to try out new techniques and building that consistency. So I have probably several thousand shots of these different types of people, And I've edited maybe 100 of them that I've put into this kind of album that fit with the look, the background. A lot of the places you go in these ghost towns, they look too commercialized to me. So I'm trying to blow that out and make it look like it's actually a portrait. It lets you challenge yourself. So you can go out and challenge yourself because, again, it's personal. You're not doing it for a client. You don't want to take risks and stuff when you have a high-paying client, or you're doing it for a friend. So I can go out there and bump the ISO up or shoot whatever I want at 2.8, because if my focus is off, oh well, I'll go back. Or I'll just skip and go to the next picture. So if I'm shooting at 2.8 and I missed his eye and his ear's in focus, it's not the end of the world. It's personal. Lets you stay sharp and not get rusty with your gear. So if you're only shooting sometimes and you're not able to shoot all the time, you start to forget or really not remember what you're supposed to be doing. So this lets you stay sharp because now you're doing a project all the time. So you're really always out there shooting, and again, you're threading them all together with a common look. And you're beginning to create a body of work. So you're creating that common thread that's giving you a body of work, a style, a look, like Joel Grimes does. I think Joel does 52 personal projects. He does one a week, if I'm not mistaken. So he does every week. He's pushing himself to get better, get better, get better. And if it doesn't work, throws it away, does something else, or doesn't publish it. So it's not the end of the world. So revisit your old work. So many times I've come back from a shoot and I'll put the pictures on, I'll be tired and exhausted and hot and just uninspired. I look at them like, these are all garbage. They're all garbage. I hate them all. But I'll go back at like 6 months or a month or a year later and I'll look at them and revisit it, and I see something that I missed because I was so into the vision I had for the initial shot that I just missed something else because they were just very tunnel vision. Like, this is the shot I want to get, and you missed it. So like this shot, it's shot down in Queen Creek. It was a beautiful sky. You know, if I had the opportunity to reshoot it, I probably would have left more foreground. I probably would have left a little more of the tree. So you want to learn from those blunders or mistakes or whatever you want to call them. And it's still a nice shot, but you know, in my now self, I would have definitely left more in there to crop out later. I want to be able to choose. I was in a phase here. I sat through a class or a presentation and it was like, crop everything in the camera, crop tight, and I did that for a lot of things. And the thing I didn't know is when you go print stuff, I didn't print a lot, then it changes aspects when you print it, and if you did this 8x10, you're losing different things. So I stopped cropping in so tight now. I shoot a little bit further out, and I'll rather crop it out later if you have the capability to do that. So identify where you can improve and recognize your patterns. So you may look back and start to see a style that you maybe didn't know you had. And that's your consistency of you practicing, getting better. Attention to detail, what was overlooked. Again, leaving more foreground, maybe bracketing it so if I did want to bring the detail out in the palm that I could have lit this up if I wanted to. So I often re-edit my older work with new tools and new eyes. So a new vision that I can see something I like, and I will go back and re-edit it. So stuff I edited in like Lightroom 3, I can edit now, and the shadow slider in Lightroom now is so much better than it was back then. So same image, I was just editing pictures like film images, and I was amazed at how I could bring the shadows up in these old film images. They look terrible still, but literally I can light them up, and I was like, the data was there, but you just couldn't see it in the scanned images. So we talked about this earlier, getting it right in the camera. So why should you try to get it right in the camera? Well, first thing, I don't like editing. I am not one of those people that likes to be locked down behind my computer. I'd rather be out shooting. So my constant mission is to try to get the image as correct as I can in the camera. So really, when you look at images like this, it was a long exposure. You have a Joshua tree there, which was cool. Different than this one because this one's silhouetted, so I wanted to get some data and some color in there. It didn't look great silhouetted. It was too bunched up. So I tried doing my signature silhouette look, which I like. I didn't like it. So we actually took a flashlight and we lit it a bunch of times. And sometimes the ground was too bright. Sometimes the tree was too dark and it wasn't even. So it took us a while to get that. In the meantime, we're shooting lightning in the background and trucks and cars are flying by and lightning's going off. And if you look, you can see how huge this lightning is. Like, these are those big high tension wires. They're like that big in the image. So it was just this, I think this one's called End of Days, but it's just a great image, but so much of it is done in the camera where, you know, you could edit all this stuff together and it would look terrible if I did it because I'm not a big Photoshop person. And it would take me so much time where I was out there enjoying this lightning storm coming towards us. It was coming back from Vegas, coming back from like WPPI in Vegas, and we were driving through and we knew where this higher vantage point was. We stop at this tree every time something interesting is going on. And we just like, oh, we got to hit the tree. And the funny story about this is there's three of us very close together. So I'm kind of right here, my friend Scott's there, and Susie is to the right of me. Every one of us has a totally different image. Scott was really low on his tripod, so he was shooting up and he has all this great texture in the sky and it looks really ominous. Mine, I have a little bit of the road here, and then Susie's off this way, so she's a lot of the road. So it's just interesting how so many photographers worry about other photographers being near them, and we were literally this far apart, arm's length apart, and totally different images. The way we shot it, our vision, the way the editing was done, it's just different. So, so let's make a pact today to say, never say that we're going to fix it in Photoshop later. So I've heard so many people stand next to me like, oh, I'll just take that stop sign out later. I'll just edit it out. It's so easy to get rid of that stop sign. You go like this. It's that much of a movement. You just micro movements to edit it in the camera. So apply your skills and achieve that consistency as much as you can in the camera, because it's gonna make your life easier and better. Again, I got a little bit too much with the cropping thing, but kind of use your judgment each time. So most of the images you're seeing on this presentation have less than 5 minutes worth of editing in Lightroom. I have Photoshop. I'm not sure why. I use it every now and then. I mostly teach Lightroom, and I can edit these in about 2 to 5 minutes, most of them. So most of the settings and looks and colors are all in there. So I'll crop a little bit, maybe a little bit of vibrance to pop the blues or the greens, and a little sharpening, but it's not major stuff. So take your time. You see a lot of these, the patience and consistency kind of going hand in hand again. Compose your shot, control your background. This one I actually did have to edit a couple people out. They wouldn't get out from behind that tree. I stood there for hours, and so there's some people drinking beer or something out here, and I was just like, you're totally ruining it, and then she was gonna move, so I took the shots anyway, and those are the ones that I like the best. But control your background as much as you can. I had most of those people behind here by moving around so that there was like heads you could see, and I thought I totally got them out, but when I got in zoomed at 100%, I'm like, they moved. So try to just by moving and getting them behind something, it's easy to hide people. Consider the time of day. I stop at this tree just as much as I stop at other places too. Every year going down to Key West, I drive down to go fishing, and I stop at this. It's called Ann's Beach. It's a few islands before I think maybe Marathon Key or something, and it's kind of out in the water depending on the time of the day. So some of the shots I have water all the way up where I'm actually in the water with my tripod. Other ones it's out further and not even out there. Tons of them without clouds. This day was different, and this is the one I liked out of all the different ones. They all look identically. They're almost composed the same way. It's the look I like, and the clouds really stood out. And then she walked out there and I was like, it kind of balanced it a little bit. She's actually got a camera. She's standing out there probably looking at the drunk people. I'm not sure, wondering what they're doing, but by taking my time, composing it, trying to control the background, and there's a bunch of kids here because it's a cool little tree. So all the kids are playing around it too. So not losing my patience of waiting for those people to get out of the way, because I don't own the beach. Like I don't own the arch. They're allowed to play there. I'm not going to yell at them to get out of my way. It's their beach as much as it is mine. So I'm sitting there getting bit by bugs, waiting for them to be done playing. And they eventually moved on, and I was able to snap my shot. Was I snapping shots the whole time? Yeah, because I was trying to get my settings dialed in, get the look I wanted. I didn't care that they were in there, because when they were gone, I had to be quick before they came back. They're probably like right here, so I had to get creative with it. And of course, the weather, knowing the weather and everything. When the weather doesn't cooperate, don't forget the basics. So it's really easy to forget your basic settings when it's hot or cold or you're stressed or you're kind of pushing those limits that we talked about earlier. So this is out in Texas. It's Cadillac Ranch, and there's usually probably no less than 50 people milling around this and in the way and spray painting it while you have your big expensive lens there and the spray paint's blowing at you. And they're just having fun and enjoying it. And this particular time, I was driving from New Jersey. I used to own a DJ company out here and photography company. I was driving my equipment back to Arizona, and this is the only place I wanted to stop. There was not much else I wanted to stop. I'm like, I just want to stop there and get a different shot of it, and that I definitely did. So a blizzard rolled in. It was in November. I was avoiding the storm by going the south route instead of going the north route. Didn't get any snow up north. Got a blizzard about an hour or about 45 minutes before I hit Amarillo. And it was like blowing. It covered the ground where I was driving. There was trucks flipped over. Lady spun out in front of me on the way there. I could see her horrified face and then went off into the ditch, and you couldn't even stop to help people because it was so slick. So if I stepped on my brakes, I was going to spin out too. So you have to really look at it, and I didn't have the right gear because I wasn't expecting this cold of weather. Kind of like I landed here yesterday, and it was 100 in Arizona, and it's 50 here, and I have shorts and stuff. So I had to like borrow sweatshirts from my brother-in-law. So I wasn't prepared. I was out there with cotton gloves that I bought at a gas station, watching the weather, and I'm like, you know what? I still want to go shoot this, regardless of that it's cold, it's blowing, everything seems to be wrong. And I get there, and I'm the only one, obviously, because everyone else is like, no, kids, we're not going, keep going. And I got this shot that just presented itself to me. So everything was whited out, so it kind of went high key. I did a little bit slower shutter speed to capture the snow falling. But I knew my camera, even though I'm sitting there shaking and trying to get the shot and compose it and everything. I tried to remember as much as I could of my training, and that's when that comes in handy, is really trying to get what you want out of it. And I knew which lens to choose, why, and what my goal was. So I was expecting dirt or mud or different things like that, and it was white, so I wanted to keep my whites white. Your camera, if you put on automatic, these would all turn gray. So you gotta remember that stuff. Goals. So this is on the way out to the wave. My friend ran up on one of those buttes and threw his arms up, and I just kind of stole the shot. It just looked cool, and it looks like it should be like, I don't know, at a motivational talk or something. So I threw it in here. So make sure you have your goals. As an artist, make sure that you try to get one good processed image per month. So try to get one image that's totally amazing each month put out. Could be your personal projects, could be for anything, but like think of it as a portfolio. I heard you guys talking about portfolios. You know, try to think of your portfolios not as 20 or 50 images, but think as like less is more. So really, if you have less images but they're all amazing, you're going to get a wow, as every time they turn the page it's going to be wow. Where if you put 20 or 50 in there and it's like, okay, oh wow, it's going to dilute it a little bit. So really go through, and it's hard to do, trust me. You know, if you knew how long it took me to make this program to try to figure out which images worked, and I still want to change some around, but I could take advice on that later of which ones I should change out. But try to look for 12 amazing images a year, because that's what's going to set you apart from the person putting out, you know, every image. So my sister takes pictures of the kids. She's got 3 kids now. Eyes closed, blurry, and she posts like 150 of them in a gallery on Facebook. I get to about 10, or maybe, and I like the kids. They're awesome, but it's like, okay, I don't need to see 150 pictures, half that are underexposed. She shoots them at her front window. And if you're watching this, she's not going to watch this, but if she's watching this, I'm sorry, but she'll shoot them at the front window, so they're backlit, and they're silhouetted, and just, I'd say 1% of them are acceptable. And I'll like say stuff on there, and she's like, oh, you're just a photographer, don't worry about it. But it's like, you know, don't do that, because no one's going to look at them, first of all. So no one wants to look, in this day and age, no one wants to look at 50 or 100 of your pictures. But if you put up one, even if you do one a day, so say you say, okay, I'm good enough to do 12 amazing ones and you can do 52, go for that. Or 52, one a week, or 365, whatever it is. There's projects out there like that, 52 projects, 365 projects. If you can do that, you're really gonna get lots more wows than just being an average photographer. Everyone's got a camera now. It's not just us. Everyone doesn't have big ones. They go onto Instagram. You don't need to have a good quality camera to put a good picture on Instagram. You could take a cell phone picture and get 1 million likes on it because it's only this big. So it doesn't make a difference to the quality. So have those wows. So posting every image on that you do in a shoot dilutes the quality. Even if it's for a client, give them all the images and then put up your best 2 or 3, like your wow ones. So less is more. So different ways you can become consistent. So it's something that I coined as called the 4 Ps of photography. And this night I wasn't actually going to go out and shoot. So I was going to stay back and cook for everyone at the camp, and they kind of talked me into it. So they're like, oh, come on, we'll just have a beer when we get back. Just come out and shoot. I'm like, I've been to Horseshoe Bend 10, 15 times. And I looked at the sky like I said I've done before. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be great. And I was literally going to stay back. And it's kind of why the shot is the way it is, because I only brought 1 camera and 1 lens, because I was like, I'll just bring a camera because I'm going to regret it if I don't bring a camera. And I didn't have my wide, and this happens. The sky lights up, which hasn't really happened a whole lot out there. I have cool clouds and everything else, but the sky totally lit up, and I'm glad I took my camera. So, but I knew exactly, where I wanted to go with it. So, what are the 4 Ps of photography? Planning, perspective, practice, and persistence. So let's break them down. Okay, back to planning. We've talked about this 2 or 3 times already. So planning out everything. Research everything you can. More the better. Really diving into it. So if you notice on this shot, it's kind of subtle because of the clouds, but that is Monument Valley, and the one butte and the one mitten is putting a shadow fully on the other mitten. You would think that happens all the time, right? You saw it, I shot it, great. It happens twice a year. It happened in March, and I think it's going to happen again in September. So usually it's off to one side or not the full actual, and again, clouds were rolling in. It's kind of dim because the clouds started to block the sun, which we're like, oh my God, we're going to have to wait till September if this happens, if the clouds got to be too thick. So it actually puts that on there, and you have to be in the right spot. You have to be in the right, and we had to do all our research to be able to, and be there at the right time and have the right vantage point because it looks different from different parts. So we did tons of research just to figure out what day to be there. And it varies. It could be one of 2 or 3 days. So you kind of have to go up and figure it out because everything's always changing. So, and then I had to look at my composition too. Did I want this in there? Was that too much? Different things like that. So some of the moments are fleeting. This was not only, so I had to know everything and be ready for it because that only happens for a few minutes before it starts to move off. So as it started to appear on this far left side, it was moving off and going away just as quickly. So actually for this one, we are taking lots of frames. I was bracketing because I wanted to be able to have the options later to do what I wanted in editing. All right, your perspective. We talked about that with the other shot of the Joshua tree. Everyone had a different perspective. And same thing with this. I was out there with 2 or 3 friends. We were doing a test shoot to see if we were going to do some different star things. And one person was shooting stars with just points, really sharp. I was shooting star trails. Someone else was lighting these up, and someone else was doing a silhouette. We all left with we went there with different visions, and we left with totally different images, probably 10 or 15 feet apart. So photography is the art of observation. It has little to do with the things you see and everything to do with the way you see them. Elliot Erwitt. So again, this is my vision. I was actually testing out from B&H here, I was testing out an Olympus camera that has a feature that takes all the pictures and stacks them in the camera for me. and it puts them all together. It was like an OMD 5 Mark II, I think, and it actually does this all, so I didn't have to edit, which makes me happy. So the less I have to edit, if I could do that in the camera, why go into StarStax and spend time putting it together if I can do it right in the camera? So what is your vision? You have to ask yourself that question. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to put together with your photography? How do you want to compose the shot? What settings are you choosing? I could have chose different settings to make these pinpoint, and actually I have a shot right before this with them as pinpoint. I didn't like it as much. I'm not a huge fan of the star trails, but I like this one better. It just seemed to stand out for me. We lit these up red, and then it got all blown out looking. The red, didn't really absorb the right way. You couldn't see the detail. Didn't like it as much. So we tried a bunch of different things in all of our visions, and really put it together the way I liked it. Back to practice, 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 practice. So the only way you can get consistent is lots of failing and practicing. Just really going there, practicing, failing. So this was shot on the way back from California, or actually maybe on the way back from Joshua Tree. We were watching this storm, and it was, Susie and I are both storm chasers, and we love to, when this time of year comes, it's coming up in monsoon season, and we just love it, and we kind of get anxious when we can't go out and shoot it. So we're sitting there and we're watching the storm, and there was just nothing. There was no foreground. It looked all like this. Nothing going on. It was just boring. And we're like, well, we need something to make this shot more interesting. And then you have to hope that this happens. So you could get the best foreground in the world, and the lightning may not come out and play. So we finally saw this one shaft, and we're like, that looks cool. Let's go play with it. So we pulled off. We had a camper behind us. So that made it harder to actually chase, because you can't make U-turns really quick. Found a field, had a little bit of foreground. It's not great, but it's better than nothing. It's better than what's past that. And the storm was kind of coming towards us. It was moving towards us. A little dust storm was starting. I thought it was a fire at first when I first saw it, but it was actually dust blowing towards us, which we found out a little bit later. But the reason I was this is a hard shot to get during the day if anyone's played with lightning. So daytime lightning is not easy. And I didn't have a lightning trigger with me on this. So what I actually did was put my camera into time-lapse mode, and I did a time-lapse of it, which I published as well. But I was lucky enough that in between, a few of them happened in between where I missed them, and this actually captured a full-frame shot of it. So I was able to capture that, but I knew what I was doing. I knew, like, okay, I don't have it's not dark, so I can't just open the shutter. I don't have my lightning trigger, that's at home, because we were shooting Joshua Trees in the night, so I didn't need it, so I didn't bring it. Didn't expect this to happen, but I was able to say, okay, well, I have this other tool, and it's not just guessing. And I put it on time lapse, got a really cool video that the news picked up, and I was able to capture this shot. So just by knowing what I have and what tools you have in the camera really helps you kind of decide what direction you're going to go. And this quote's by someone here, Brandon Stanton. So main thing to remember is that hard work got me here, and the only hard work will keep me here. So Humans of New York. So he's getting super popular out there. You see him everywhere. On to persistence. If at first you don't succeed, go back as many times as you have to. Persistence is huge. It's huge. So I was the stand-in for the lighting setup at this model shoot. We were setting it for other people. And Vincent, he shot with us a bunch of times, and we didn't see him for a while. And we set up these lights for like an hour and a half. So we had 2 side lights coming in. We had a beauty dish up top shooting down. And we couldn't get rid of this horrible shadow under my chin. Moved the light up, moved the light down, put something over it, blocked it, put a reflector down here. It just kept getting a really dark shadow from the beauty dish up top. And just couldn't understand how to get rid of it. So we set this up, we got it almost dialed in to where we were like, all right, we're getting a little OCD with this. We need to just go with it, and he's going to move around too. He's not going to stand perfectly like where I am. He's going to be doing his poses. But we're persistent, and we got it perfect, and guess what happens? He walks in, and since we saw him last, he has this huge beard. He has this huge beard. You can't even see his neck. So, but we nailed the lighting regardless. It looked great on him with or without the beard, but we were persistent on it. We just say, throw the lights up and say, oh, whatever's going to happen's happen. We were very persistent. We wanted to get the red right. We wanted to get everything right. So when people came in to shoot the pictures, they really got a great shot. But we could have just thrown them up and been like, all right, that's good enough. But we really wanted to really persist and get something cool. And that's one of the shots I got. It's actually without the front light on it. We turned the front light off to be a little more interesting. So if at first you don't succeed, again, go back and keep at it and don't give up. So that's a big thing. Back to your 12 awesome images a year. Create consistent, compelling content. Is it something you'd want to see? A lot of times we're personally connected to our images, especially if they're friends or family or something that we took that we love, and you got to kind of separate yourself from your personal connection with the image and say, is this something that's newsworthy or portfolio worthy or print worthy, and really look at your stuff. Have other people look at your stuff, other photographers, friends and family. I show a picture to my mom. Oh, it's the best image ever. I love it. Every image I put up, she likes it, and she's going crazy with Facebook sharing now. So she's probably going to see this and share this when it goes live. So everything is shared. But that's mom. She loves everything. Share with people like your peers that are going to give you a true evaluation of how you're doing. And it doesn't mean bashing you. You want to get someone that's going to give you constructive criticism, and you don't have to take that. You can say, okay, I appreciate what you said, but I still like the image. That Monument Valley image, I didn't show it yet. I have one of Monument Valley that I'll show you guys. And everyone's like, oh, you could have lit this up and did this and did that. Someone just the other day said it. And I'm like, yeah, but I like it this way. This is my vision of it. I've tried to light it up, and I don't like it. I light up and I'm like, because I have the brackets. I have like 5 brackets from the shot. And it's not, what I like. But don't let social media and people out there get you down. When you're looking at other people, don't compare yourself to them. So you see, again, I see in the PAC Photography Club, we have 35,000 people. I see amazing images every day. I'm not like, oh, they're better than me. Boo-hoo, I'm not going to do this anymore. Their images may be way up here. That gives me some place to strive to get to, So, and they're not comparing themselves to me, hopefully. They're looking at it and they might be comparing themselves to someone else. But again, you don't want to really let that get you down, because everyone's on their own path, and you're really just compete against yourself and stuff like that. Don't get wrapped up in competing with others, and be a little bit aware of internet trolls. So you have a lot of people out there that will go on these photography boards and places and just bash you and be like, why'd you do that? This stinks. That's blah, blah. Ignore them. Block them, delete them, get rid of them. They're just there to harass people. So if you haven't run into that and you're on a photography board, you will eventually. All right, big one. Always look behind you, because sometimes something amazing is happening there. So I am actually in the middle of the street, and you can kind of see it here. There's one highway and there's the other highway. I stopped in the middle. I am shooting a church, little chapel, that's over here, and the big mountain behind it, and a storm. And nothing's happening. I'm getting mediocre, if not lackluster pictures. And I had 2 cameras, so I had my 7D and my 5D, and one zoomed in on the church and one's wide, just in case something happened. I always shoot with 2 cameras so that I get both perspectives of, because I've had that where I've had to crop in too tight and I lose all my resolution trying to crop in on a cool lightning bolt that happened. So I always shoot with 2. And then all of a sudden, out of like the side of my eye, I start to see purple over here. And I look at, and this just happens behind me. Now, it's not the best picture in the world, but it kind of shows you that cool stuff happens behind you. And I wish there was a great saguaro here. If I knew Photoshop, I could edit one in, maybe. But, I wish I had more foreground, but again, it really spoke to me as like looking behind you, because if I was in a better location and I was just so focused on shooting that church and getting that vision of that shot I had, and a purple pink lightning bolt is happening behind me, it's just, you really want to look around and not be so tunnel visioned into what you're trying to do. And as the great Joe McNally says, don't pack up your camera until you've left the location. And we've all done that probably. You pack up and then something happens, and you kind of regret putting your camera away. So keep it around your neck or whatever. Don't put it away in the bag and turn it off. Have it with you as you're moving around. So, photography is a lot of luck or serendipity. So what is luck or serendipity? The occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. So, how much of luck plays into what we do? A great percentage of it, I would say, a pretty big percentage of it that is luck. But you can better your chances by putting yourself in the right place at the right time. So if you did your research and you did your planning and you did all the other stuff we've talked about, you're increasing your luck. You'll hear business people talk about this all the time, that they create their own luck. It's because they're out there working the grind. And same things for photographers. If I go out to go take pictures of bears and you go out and go take pictures of bears and I did all my research and you just wander out to the woods and sit against a tree, you may see a bear. But I may see a bear quicker, better, in a better background and know exactly where I'm getting, where you're gonna have a picture of a bear in the woods that may be blurry because it's shady and there's lots of canopy over you, where I may have it eating salmon in a river and know that they're going there for salmon that day. So you're really creating that luck a lot of times by doing all the work. So they say skill and preparation equal luck. Luck is what happens when skill and preparation actually come together. You're creating that luck, like I just said, and here's that story I was telling you about with Monument Valley. So same place, different day. I was up there with a good friend of mine, Ken, and his friend, and it was pouring rain that night. So I kind of went up to his tent in the morning and slapped on it or knocked on it. It was like splat, splat, splat. Like, hey, you going to shoot the sunrise? I was like, is it raining? I said, yeah. He goes, no, I'm not going. So for some reason, and I'm not a sunrise person. If you see my pictures, they're mostly sunsets. So I'm not a morning person. I like sunsets. And I just the sunsets seem to do this more. So I for some reason, I was like, instead of going back in and saying, Ken's not going, I'm going to go back to sleep, I felt compelled to go and drive across the way. So I got in the car, drove across the way, and went into the park and sat there in the rain. And this didn't happen until about an hour in. So I'm sitting there in a chair in the rain, both my cameras, the 5D and 7D, again, zoomed in, this shot, and then with the other butte that you saw before, the wider shot and more of the sky. And I got up for a second, walked over to my vehicle to get something, maybe water or something like that, and I just saw something glowing in the window, in the reflection. And I kind of turned around, and it was behind me. Turned around and like ran back as this just started to light up. So what happened is it's a little separation in the clouds there. Tiny. You could see how small that is. You know, there's one there, there's one there. The sun came up behind the left mitten, kind of came across the sky, and then this all lit up. Happened for about 30 seconds. So I ran back, and I had both my triggers, and I'm like click, 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 bracketing. So I have like 5 brackets from each. So that's the time to start shooting fast. And what happened is the sun scraped across, they're not in line with each other. So that one's a little further back, and the rain was raining down. It was raining on me, it was raining here, and that's what lit that up. So that's rain that lit the second one up. And the first one silhouetted out, and the tree silhouetted out. Since then, they've cut the tree down recently, unfortunately, and they built a campground there. But I was ready for it. I had everything, yeah. I was ready for it. I had everything set up. I had everything kind of had to come in. I was sitting there like sweating, like I hope everything's on. I hope my focus is on. I hope it's all, I had it all on manual focus, so hope nothing got bumped, and just was ready for that to happen. Now, if I would have slept in, like Ken and everyone else, I would have missed it. If I would have been in the wrong spot, I would have missed it. If I didn't know my cameras, I would have missed it. If I didn't have my settings set up for it to go from really dark to really light, I would have, blown it out. So there was a lot that went into that to really check and make sure that I was ready for that to happen. So, but there was that element of luck. I could have got all gray shots like all the ones before and after this. So if I showed you this whole series, it's like gray, 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 orange, gray, gray, gray. So it didn't happen again. It didn't catch like one of these or something and happen again. It was literally 30 seconds. So there are no rules for good photographs. There are only good photographs. Mr. Ansel Adams. So, so you guys may have seen him coming in, Mr. Luis Menendez out there. This was shot actually in front of B&H right here during the photo conference. I came up. So I'm going to leave you with this last. I'll leave you with this last quote here. Maybe because it's entirely the artist's eye, patience, and skill that makes the image, not his tools, by Ken Rockwell. So he's out there shooting with that speed graphic, with the Polaroid back. He was telling me he bought up either all the film or all the flash bulbs when they went out of business or something, that he owns like thousands of them so he could keep doing his thing. And he's out there. I passed him on the way in. Every time I pass, he's always out there, you know. And he knows what he's doing. And I was reading about him before I put this in here just to know a little bit more about him. And he goes down to Times Square and other things, and people interviewed him and asked him, do you care about all these other people out there with cameras that are shooting in front of Elmo and all those things? He's like, I'm not worried about them. They're all on automatic. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to control their background. He's charging $25 to take a picture of you. Do the math on that, of how many pictures he takes a day. He's making tons of money, and he's doing it all manual with a classic camera, and he's got that vision. He knows what he wants, he knows what he's doing, and he's putting it together, and he's patient. If I say no, I don't want a picture, he doesn't go home and Nick didn't want a picture, boo, they didn't like my old camera. He waits for the next person. He waits and he waits and he waits and he grinds. He's out there every day doing that, and he let me take a picture of him. So yeah, I'll leave you guys with that. So this was sponsored by PAC. It's a photo club I run. It's called the Photographers Adventure Club. It's free to join, and I have cards up here if you'd like to, or sign up for the mailing list. And we do all kinds of different hikes, walks, workshops, classes, seminars, and different things like that. And there's lots of different online forums to get critiques of your images, talk to other people, meet other photographers, stuff like that. So we have about 35,000 people nationwide that are connected with that. And if you'd like to follow me, there's all my info of Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We do a free YouTube show as well. So if you log onto that and subscribe, you'll be able to learn lots of different tips. We do it's like a couch kind of thing where we sit down and just talk photography. All right. So thank you guys and ladies for coming out.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.